Hello, this is Oscar from Tercio Gaming, and today we're going to talk about Zelda. Breath of the Wild has been out for a while now, 1 week to be exact, as this Nintendo Switch, and I had like approximately over 60 hours of gameplay. That's quite a lot. And in this 60 hours of gameplay, I didn't even reach the second temple yet. Yeah, that's how big this game is. I mean, it's actually hard to summarize my feelings and my experience with this game because, oh my god, it's just such a great game. I never had this feeling of wonder and excitement and adventure since probably Ocarina of Time. Honestly, yes. I remember being a child playing Ocarina of Time, and in 1998 you didn't really have these vast open world games. I mean, they didn't really exist aside from the Elder Scrolls series on PC, but they were not that famous and not everybody had that game. So Ocarina of Time was actually like a full 3D world, and Hyrule Field, it just seemed so vast and so big that you could explore it. And there was all these side quests and all these things that you can do, extra secrets in the game. You would talk about these secrets with your classmates when you were little, and you would share this information and tips with them. It was just, oh my god. The same thing is happening with Breath of the Wild. I'm 26 years old, and I'm excited to actually discuss the things I discover in this game with friends and family that are also playing the game. It's just so wonderful. Now to get to the details of the game, I'm really enjoying the exploration aspect of this game. I mean, it's the main draw that this game has. The last Zelda game was Skyward Sword, which had a bigger focus on dungeons and story and linearity. This Zelda is completely the opposite. There are much less dungeons, and there's much less story as well. It's more focused on the experience of exploring a gigantic world, the world of Hyrule that we always dreamed about when we were little. The great thing about this game is that there's hardly any hand-holding. This is a hardcore, old-school type of game in that sense. There's no real tutorial to the game. It's very open. I mean, you do start off in an enclosed area which simulates the rest of the game, but to kind of get the grips with the basic mechanics such as climbing, cooking, fighting, shrines, and all that. And once you leave the Great Plateau, which is this initial starting prologue area, as you just seen in this video, I just flew off it. This is basically this is almost the beginning of the adventure. And as you fly off, you reach the rest of the open world game, and from there you just can do wherever you want. You don't even have to follow the main objective. You can go any direction. Something really cool about this game is that at one point you might get like several main quests to advance the story. At one point I had 5 main quests at the same time, and the beauty of it is that you don't really need to follow an order to complete them. In fact, I just got them there in my backlog on my mission log, and I'm just ignoring them at the moment because I always find an excuse to get off the beaten path and explore shrines and dungeons and go on adventures on my own. Now, just like Majora's Mask, this game has 4 dungeons, just 4, and they're not that big either. They're more like minigame dungeons compared to dungeons from previous games. And I'm not talking about the shrines, I'm talking about the Divine Beasts dungeons, alright? They're actually smaller than normal Zelda dungeons. Perhaps I would have appreciated them more if they were longer and more traditional to Zelda style dungeons. But I mean, you can see that most of the work on this game has gone into the open world and not into the enclosed areas such as dungeons. There's also shrines littered around the map, which act as mini dungeons. There's 120 to be exact. And every time you clear one of the challenges inside these shrines, you get a energy orb, which with 4 of them, you can exchange them for a heart container or a stamina wheel increase. And that is part of the progression of the game. Exploration leads to you finding shrines. Completing the shrines leads you to get more powerful by increasing your heart or your stamina wheel. by getting more hearts and stamina wheel, you're able to reach and destroy bigger enemies, which in change will give you better weapons, and with those better weapons you can tackle more difficulties and other areas where there's more shrines, and that's the cycle. The cycle of exploration and progression in this game is so unique, you just cannot find it anywhere else. While other open world games rely on basically leveling up, destroying enemies to get experience points, and grinding them just to get the best gear, this game actually relies on the opposite. In fact, killing enemies in this game is not always the best option that you can do. There's a mechanic in the game that the more enemies you kill, later on the stronger they will become when they respawn. Now the respawn mechanic is also pretty unique to this game. Just more or less like Dark Souls. When you kill an enemy, he stays dead until a couple of days later when there's a blood moon at midnight. When you see a red moon in the sky, all the enemies respawn, and depending on how many you killed during those days, they will respawn more powerful. So basically you want to choose your encounters wisely so you know you're going to get better loot out of them and not just kill enemies willy-nilly just for the sake of it. You want to be exploring and choosing your fights carefully so that the world doesn't become more dangerous than you want it to be. And every single mechanic of this game is treated with equal care. Everything that you can do in the game has lots of details and lots of depth. Just taming horses, wild horses in the wild, grabbing them and getting them to like you and to train them to do what you want, that is also another game in itself. All horses have stats. They have strength, endurance and speed, and they can improve over time if you keep going with them and you soothe them and they become friends with you. So you kind of create this bond with your horse. And there's also certain stables where you can change the appearance of your horse by changing its mane and the saddle, and you can customize your horses to really weird combinations. I actually got a black horse with a purple mane, and I called him Cookie, and that's epic. One little detail that I really like about this game as well is the towns. Most NPCs in this game, they have their own agendas, they do their own thing during the day. For example, NPCs that are shopkeepers, you actually see them close the shop and just go home to sleep. And you can actually go to their homes and talk to them there. They all have their schedule, and it's really impressive to see. You'll actually lose hours just staring at NPCs and just checking where they go. In fact, there is side quests in the game that encourage you to spy on certain NPCs to see what they're doing. It's just, there's so much attention to detail in this game. It's just incredible how Nintendo just did all of this. And contrary to what many people believed, the world is pretty much alive. There is not one moment in this world that I feel that it's empty, because everything between certain locations, there's actually things along the way that actually entertain you. Could be a shrine, could be an NPC in trouble, could be an enemy camp that you want to raid, or perhaps a natural formation which is weird and you go check it out and it's actually part of a side quest, or there's a secret there. There's always something to check out between places. It's like what Miyamoto and Eiji Aonuma said in an interview before the game launched, that they would try the game several times, and if they felt that an area was empty and that they could include something, they would. In fact, every tree, every bush, every animal, everything in this game has been handpicked and put there for a reason. As you can see in the following images right now, I'm just casually strolling around with my horse, and I see a poor citizen in trouble getting attacked by a goblin. Here I come to her rescue as a gallant knight that I am. And it's details like these that make the game just feel alive. You're actually part of the game. Something else that makes the game extremely realistic, in my opinion, is the physics system. Everything has a weight. Everything can be moved in this game. You can see here that I'm using the Magnetus rune to lift up some metal boxes, which have their own weight properties and their own inertia. You can use them actually to attack enemies, as I'm doing here. I'm gonna try and knock this bokoblin down. And it's so satisfying to see how the bodies move and everything interacts in the world. As you can see here, I hit a explosive barrel with a metal crate, and it actually works. And everything in this game has logic. In fact, there's certain puzzles later in the game in some shrines that ask you to connect electricity, to connect some electrical cables, and the cables are missing. And normally you should use some metal balls that are already in the shrine. But for some reason you're not capable of accessing those metal balls to connect the electricity. I've seen online people drop down metal weapons from their inventory to connect the line, and the electricity actually goes through the metal weapons, and you solve the puzzle in the not intended way. Now that is incredibly clever. The game mechanics, game logic is so consistent. It's so consistent that you can actually you can bend what you would normally think is normal in this game. At the moment, I'm really enjoying the game. I'm really loving it. I'm enjoying every minute of it. I'm not getting bored of it. It's excellent. There's still so much I can discover, so many things I can do. This game is gonna occupy me a good chunk of time, probably until the next major Switch game comes out. And even beyond that, this game is gonna still have content in the form of DLCs that I'm really excited to check out. As for the story, it's not the best story in the world, as I just said. Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword had more developed stories, even Majora's Mask. Breath of the Wild, story-wise, is more akin to Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time didn't have the best story either. It was not that most developed one, but it's really not important. I mean, simple stories don't have to be bad, because despite Twilight Princess having more plot twists and more story, I actually enjoyed Ocarina of Time's story much better, because it was more simple, more straightforward, more classic style hero versus evil, and I think that's what made the game special in a way. And Breath of the Wild is also straight to the point. You are the hero, you have to get strong, and you have to destroy Ganon, which is in Hyrule Castle. And to do that, you need to do this, and this. You already know from the beginning of the game that what you have to do. But to achieve those things, you will take hours and hours and hours and hours. This game is so big and so huge, and you can do whatever you want. That's the beauty of it. Now, I'm not in a position to do a full review at the moment because I didn't beat the game yet, and I have a strict policy that I only do reviews when I beat the game. And in this case, I'm giving you a 60-hour impression at the moment. And all I can say is all the 60 hours have been worth it. And I hope that the next 60 hours are still worth it, or even better, because this game is incredible. I just love it. Do you need to buy a Nintendo Switch for this game? Not necessarily. I mean, if you're short on cash and you're only interested in this game, then I wouldn't buy a Nintendo Switch for it. In fact, if you have a Wii U, I would get it on the Wii U, as both versions are almost identical, just that the Switch version does run in a slightly higher resolution, and there's slightly higher draw distance, but it's not something that is gonna break the deal here. So if you have a Wii U lying around, you better pick this game up. But if you don't care on spending on a new console, then get it on the Switch, because it's slightly better on the Switch. So in summary, this game is completely worth it. If you want a more detailed opinion of mine, then you're gonna have to wait for the full review when I beat the game and get most of the juice out of it. I like to go deep with these things, and this game deserves to be extremely analysed. Anyways, if you have experience with this game, if you've been playing these days, why don't you leave a comment down below and you tell me all about it? I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to leave a like and share it with your friends. This is Oscar, and I'll see you later.